Hi, this is Miss Cahill. Today we're going to be talking about blending sounds together to make some words. So we have talked about the letter sounds. So we're going to think back to those letter sounds and we're going to put them together to make some words. So we're going to look at the letters. This is the first word we have here. We have 3 letters. So remember, we're going to sound them out and think about the sounds that the letters usually make and put them together to make a word. So I have my smiley face magnet right here. I'm going to use this to help you look at one letter at a time. Remember, when we're reading, we read left to right. So let's look at the first letter. The first letter on the left is a C. So what sound does the C make? S or K, right? But we're going to think about K. So K. And now this next sound is A, and the T makes T, right? So think about it. K, A, T. One letter, one sound at a time. K, A, T. Now together, I'm going to do it all together. Ready? Cat. You see that? K, A, T, cat. We're going to try it a way that I really like to do it. It helps me remember, and this is how I learned. So everybody put a hand up in the air. So we're going to put fingers together for each sound. So let's try it again. Let's try it. Let's put our pointer finger and our thumb together, and let's say K, K. Okay? Now your middle finger and your thumb. So these two guys, we're going to say ah for the second sound. Ah. Okay, so we have K, ah. And now this last one, this is the T, it makes a sound T. We're going to put our ring finger with our thumb and say T. So K, ah, T, K, ah, T. Now together, put all 3 of the fingers to the thumb, leave just your pinky up, and we're going to go cat. So let's try that again. K, together, K, ah, T, cat. Good. Okay, so now let's try with a couple more words. So let's try this one. B-A-T. B makes a sound B, B. A, T. So we have B, A, T, bat. See that? Let's try this one. This is different first letter also. So let's look at this letter. It's the letter H. What sound does H make? Right? So, A, T, hat. Hat. Good. Now let's try this one. S. Now this is a U. U makes a sound and makes a sound N. S, N. S, N. Sun. See that? Okay, let's go ahead to this one. H-O-T. So, right? A, T, A, T, hot. Good. Now let's try a couple. I'm going to call on some people. So I would call on some people to do these last ones. This one's a little harder, so let's see. I would pick on someone who really seems confident about it to do this one. B-E-D. So, B-E-D, bed. Okay, so if they got it right, I would say, okay, good job. But otherwise, I would correct them. And the next one is F-U-N, F-N, fun. This one is R-N, run. Net, N-Et, net. And rib, R-I-B, rib. Okay, so obviously I would go slower because I'd have more time, so I would go through each of them and I would help students if they struggled or if they got confused about a letter sound. I would remind them, okay, think about the letter sounds that we learned about. I'm familiar with the fundamentals, I go by kind of the sounds that I taught them at the beginning of the year, depending on like A, apple, A, B, baby, B. So they would go and think about those letter sounds that they had already learned at the beginning of the year, and I would help them out and I would teach them B, E, D, bed. They need to blend them together using their fingers, okay? Or they could point like we did at the beginning. So after this, I would say, okay, everyone, we're going to go into centers now. So let's go into our guided reading, our leveled reading groups. So we all have leveled reading groups that we know we're in. So let's go in those groups. And now I'm going to separate into our different groups. So let's start with center 1. So center 1, first I would explain all of the centers to them so we all know what we're doing. So center 1, I would have them make these puzzles. It's some word puzzles. So we would all look at, everybody would get a different one. We'd look at the picture we have. So this looks like a bed, right? So we would look at this first picture. That means now we have to find the letters to spell out the word bed. So I have lots of letters here for the puzzles. Now think about the first sound that we need for bed. B, b. What letter is that? That's B. So we're going to take a B and put it here. And then we're going to need A. Take an E, put it here. D. Take a D, put it here. And I know for this one, it's a little tricky because of the B and the D. A lot of kids get confused about that. So I would just remind them, remember what we talked about with the B and the D. The B is like a belly, and the D is like a diaper. So we'll think about that when we spell it out. B-E-D, bed. Make sure you have everything in the right place. They would complete that puzzle, everyone would do their own, and then I would have them work together to write down their completed puzzle words on here. So they would, doesn't matter what order, as long as they write all the words down, just to show that they got them. Okay, so that's one center. The next center would be doing some Play-Doh, okay? So I would have students look at these words here. They would look at these words, and they would spell them out using Play-Doh. So I have these cookie sheet pans here, some cookie sheet pans, and I would have them spell them out. So like cup, I would do a model for them, and it would say C-U-P cup, so I'll just show you what it might look like real quick. So C, K, K, U, P. All right, so let's put those together, and we have cup. So I would have them spell it out just like that, so everyone would do their own. Okay, and then they would put them to the side for me to see, and they would also fill out a recording sheet to write their answers, just so that that reinforces that spelling of the letters, because I know the words are right here, but I would have them write them just to remember how they're spelled and the sounds that the different letters make. So that's center 2. Now center 3 would be these words. This is just a quick center, just if students have extra time and they need to do something else before they get to this guided reading that I'm about to go over. So if they have time, they can do this center. This is super important because it's just practicing. So it's just some extra practice, because I know those are practice activities. Now this one is basic. It's just what we did at the beginning of class. So first letter, second letter, third letter. They're Elkinen boxes, and they also have green, yellow, red. So it reinforces left to right reading, and green for go, red for stop. So this would help them just logically think about it. So they would think, l, I, p, lip. So I'd have them use their fingers and also look at the Elkinen boxes as each sound is isolated by itself. So I would have them practice these. They could read them to each other just to practice. T, I, n, tin. So I have them go through those. Now, the last center, which is most important because this is a guided reading lesson, I would have them, out of everyone in my small group, get one of these. So this is our story that we're reading. It's just a short story. So I would show them, okay, you see those dots? Those are for your fingers, to put your finger to follow along. So make sure you're following along. One person at a time is going to read a sentence. We're going to go in a circle. But even if you're not the one reading, I want you to follow along with your finger and pay attention. Okay? So we would go through, I see a hot pot. When they see a word that they might not know, just because they're still learning, especially the words that we're learning today, I would say, remember, pick up your hand and do the finger tapping. Tap it out. Hot. I see a hot. Now this is another word. Pot. I see a hot pot. And then we move on to the next person. So we'd read the whole thing. I would correct them as we're going, and this would just be a little informal as we're learning assessment. Now, after the centers, I would have students come together and go on the carpet, and I would give everyone a different one of these cards. So this is an I have, who has game. So I would start with this card. It says, I have hat, who has pat. Okay, so I would read that, and I would say, okay, whoever has pat, stand up. So they'd all have to read their cards. I could have them, they could tap them out if they want while they're sitting. Whoever has pat stands up and says, I have pat, who has bat? And whoever has bat would stand up. I have bat, who has hen? So we go through to all of them, and the last one says, I have cot, who has end? So I would give this to a more advanced reader because it says end. I would say, and I would have the end one, I have end, okay? So then would be the final assessment when I give them the decoding page, and they would answer some questions after reading.